Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another session of Saturdays with Sourish. And today, what we are going to do is we have an extremely special guest and a very long time friend of mine. I will be introducing him shortly, but we are a little bit before time, so I'm going to wait for more people to join in. And but today's discussion is going to be extremely pertinent to a lot of people who keep joining us on a regular basis, and also for those people who will be joining us new tonight. So the topic is all different types of discussions, not just limited to these topics, but topics which would be primarily, we would try to cover uh, what is publication, what are the different types of publication, whenever you want to publish something, how do you choose a particular venue, what should be the different criteria or parameter of choosing a particular venue, or the different ways or methodology of, there's a particular systematic method in which you should choose a particular venue, whether you are choosing a journal submission or going for a conference proceeding submission. And also, we would be touching upon a little bit on the pricing aspects of manuscript submission and who pays to whom and so on and so forth. Basically trying to understand the entire ecosystem. So on one hand, you have the researchers who are going to submit their work. On the other hand, you have the reviewers who are going to review your work. And on the other hand, you have the journals or the journal editorials or the conference proceeding track chair managers who are going to make sure that the best or the most high quality papers are getting accepted. And then finally comes the fourth stakeholder, who is essentially the publisher, who would be publishing that so that your work gets a lot more visibility, especially online, and also in hard copy material. So that's kind of like the ecosystem that our conversation will be kind of hovering around this particular ecosystem, and we'll be touching about many different things. Some might be a little bit controversial, but we don't care tonight. And we want to also have your opinion, so please do that. So whatever we are going to tell, it will be my own personal opinion and my guest's personal opinion. But we want all of you to keep putting your own opinion on chat, and we will keep going back to you, and try to answer some of the, if there are questions, we will try to answer the questions to whatever, to best of our capacity, and help you out in other different ways, or any kind of comments are welcome. So first of all, I can see people coming in. So just say hi and hello to each other. What is your research area? Which university you belong to? And is it the first time that you are joining Saturdays with Suresh? I still want to keep the the guest profile as a secret for the next 1 minute, and then I will introduce him. It's sort of like an appearance. I want to make it like an appearance. Good evening, Vedant. Good evening, Meda. I see Meda is your second time or maybe your third time, right? Vedant, is it your first time, or is it, or have you been to Saturdays with Sorish before? Hi, Shurupendu. Okay, okay. So Shurupendu, you should not tell who is our guest today. Okay, so you should just keep quiet for now. Hi, Shripad. Oh, you are from the DA-IICT NLP community. Great, great. So we will. By the way, I want to tell you, everyone, we will be doing an NLP, specifically an AI and NLP series, and we will bring today's guest because he's very special. He's very important. One of the key researchers in India who is working actively in this particular area. So we will be requesting him to come back again for that series. But this is something that I really want to do as a separate series altogether. Oh, Vedant, it's the first time. A very warm welcome to you, Vedant. Just let people, you should be telling what research area you are working on and which university you're from, so that people get to know each other. I want all of you to make friends with each other, friendship. Okay, so now is the time to tell everyone who is our guest. So we have today Professor Prasenjit Majumder, and that you already know because that's in the title, on the title. But Professor Prasenjit Majumder is one of the most prominent researchers in the field of evaluation techniques, primarily evaluation techniques. One of the pioneer groups in India who have been doing it. And also he has a lot of other varied interests, especially interests which would be so varied, like human computer interaction to proscenium, which is essentially the art of drama. Okay, so, and also he's kind of like the person who you would want to talk about almost anything and everything. So a very warm welcome to you, Prasenjit Da, for
Right.
for for being our special guest today and tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sourish.
So today, we have been, just to give you an introduction, we have been discussing about these topics since ages, actually, and lot of issues, lot of debatable issues, lot of controversial issues, and we have been discussing all this. And because Prasenjit that happens to be my colleague and my senior at my university at DA-IICT. So, and he's a senior professor over there currently, and we have been discussing all these topics that we are going to discuss today. So, and we have been thinking about how can we actually make it more reachable and visible, whatever our thoughts and whatever our opinion is. And that is why, somehow, I never thought that I would actually do it on a Saturday. There will be something like Saturdays with Sourish, first of all, and I never thought that I would be able to get that all those conversation kind of like crystallized, although it's very, very difficult to crystallize all of that in one session. But we will try to touch upon some of the most important concerns and aspects. And we have also done some little bit of survey. And I think, I don't know whether Ketul is there, but if you can keep filling up the survey, let me just share the survey with you so that we can get a much better way of presenting this chit chat today that we are going to have. So let me just put it up on the chat. So I have given the survey form on the chat. So also I have made a mistake as usual, that I have not put the Zoom on gallery. I'm very bad at Zoom. So now I guess you can see both me and Prasenjit. I'm so sorry about it. I always kind of mess things up. So I hope everybody can now see Prasenjit. I'm so sorry. I've introduced my guest and you're not able to see my guest. That's so stupid of me.
No, I think while I was talking, the focus got switched to me.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it has to be.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we both are visible together. Okay. All right. So, hi, Chandan. Hi, Meda. Hi, Tausif. Tausif, you are from where did you both of you? Oh, okay. Both of you, both. There's somebody called Tausif Amir Khan, and he tells us that both of us taught him in 2013 at the IICT. That's wow. It's amazing to see an ex-student and having while both of us are together. um Hi Vidya, great to see you back again. um Hi Chandan. Hi Meda. Let's wait for some more people, maybe, or maybe it's 9:06. So I guess we are kind of past the time that we So we will keep letting people enter the room, and what we do is that let's just start with the discussion. So today, as hi Lena, hi, hello. So today, what we are going to do is we are going to first discuss a little bit about what do you understand by publication. So whenever we talk about publication, so I know that the usual thing that bell, the bell that rings in our mind is that it would be some sort of a manuscript submission of a research paper with certain kind of contributions that we have to make, right? And but kind of like trying to dispel that myth a little bit. So Prasenjit, I have seen that happening, and I'm pretty sure you would agree with me that most people would think in a very unidimensional way when they think about publications. But these days the scenario is changing so much. So I would like to have some of your own reflections on this particular topic. Like, what would you collectively, or what are all the different things that can actually constitute a publication?
Okay, I mean that's a very direct question, and that's a very good question. Essentially, we keep talking on these things in our university cafeteria for last 5 years, maybe, or a little more than that. So
Yeah,
what is a
yeah, more than
more than
that,
that? Yeah, yeah,
more
yeah,
than
yeah,
8 years, I
yeah,
would
yeah,
say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We also had some school overlap, but at that time we were not aware what is called publication. Not overlap, but kind of. I shared the same school with Sourish, but yeah. So the point, what is publication, is kind of, to me, anything through which you can express yourself is publication, and anything through which you can express yourself will have some kind of IP in modern world. Now it's up to you whether you want to give that IP up or you want to protect it. So if you want to protect it, there are several mechanisms and methods. If you don't want to protect it, it's fine. It's absolutely a philosophy that you will subscribe to, like the open source movement, like our ancient Indian publications. If you see, because you cannot tell the name of the writers of Upanishads. So it's a complex thing in that sense.
Yes.
That, I mean, how you protect your IP, whether you at all wants to protect your IP or what you. So that's the second part of the question. If I deconstruct the question into two things. So yeah. So the coming back to the first question, whatever you express or is, if I say that it is kind of a publication. So we all publish. If you just look around, all of us, I mean, so at class 8, I wrote a poem for the school magazine. That was a publication.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wrote a piece of code and uploaded it to some place, to some common website or some competition. That is also a publication.
Right.
I create a data that someone used to train it for his system. Eventually, just incidentally, I can say we keep doing this kind of things in a different forum, where we actually create data for the research community. That there is a forum called FIRE. So that data, that is a publication. So you have data, you have source code, you have poem. Oh yes, you also have research papers. What you said, I mean, you usually think of, and a journal. You name a journal, a publisher, where you go through a peer review, and then based on the review, you get a publication. Yeah. So I mean, just to draw the line, or rather to remove the line, the mental barrier, what is publication, I just touch upon a few diverse things, and in that sense, you see, we all publish, and that is what I think publication.
Right. So we actually have a very interesting survey. Actually, this survey idea came from Prasenjit, and he said that why not just have some surveys while we carry on, and move forward with the different topics that we are going to touch upon tonight. And Prasenjit, we are having this the very first thing, when we try to ask people around. Of course, there will be more responses coming in, but so far, whatever we have gotten. So we asked this question, like, if you have published anything so far, what are they? And what we find in out of whatever audience we have gotten so far, 35%, a little more than 35% have not yet published anything. That's what they feel.
Okay.
And 57% have published a research article, and 28.6% people have published slides and presentations,
Okay.
and then 21% published review articles as well as book chapters. And then comes survey articles, like 14% published survey articles and book and thesis. Right. So I see, interestingly, which I kind of like guess, that the percentage of people who would have published, publicly published blogs, or let's say data, or let's say code, or even technical reports, any kind of report, uh, and videos, video
Yeah.
or vlogs, that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
quite low. And I only see one response on each one of them. And something very interesting that I'm seeing is that not too many people, whoever we have responded, have had at any point of their time published any stories or essays or poems. And so coming back to this interesting thing about, like, code and data, and let's say, first, so let's talk about code and data first. Let's focus
Okay.
on that. So a lot of people don't understand, even, or don't even have they don't even know where to publish. That's also there's an issue over there. And they are also very, kind of, sometimes very afraid about the intellectual property as well. Like, what happens, if I, is it like, what is the right time to actually make it visible? So if you can shed some light on that aspect when it comes to data and code sharing.
Okay. I mean, if you um, look at the revolution happened since last 10 years, as
Mm-hmm.
most of the I can talk more precisely about the computer science domain, but I believe this is true for even the social science domain also, that research is gradually shifting
Mm-hmm.
to a very data hungry, data oriented framework. So even a sociologist wants to take a decision, an informed decision, based on not just his or her analysis of of the surrounding, but more precise what data is telling. So generating a story out of the data is kind of a new trend, because there are several reasons for that. One very quick reason that is coming on the top of my mind is storage become very cheap, accessing data
Right.
is become very evident, and so it got some kind of credibility also, that data speaks. So now, when you see data became a very important aspect of modern day research, then data curation and data publication at the same time become very important.
Right.
Being important means you can directly see a business in it. You can see a directly IP and related stuffs in it. So if I just take a case of, say, AI research, modern day AI research, this is just a case. There can be several medical research and whatnot. Uh, what happened? Most of the AI algorithms are using training data. Now, either you train your system, and gradually, when the training data uh, became out of proportionately big, you cannot manage. You started using pre-training sprint systems. So the pre-trained systems are also there is someone who trained them. Say Google trained them. But Google trained them using a data that they captured, organic data, over a period of 10 years or 20 years or whatever it is. Now, if they wish to publish that data, can you just imagine what could be an apparent cost of that? The price of it?
Right.
So, if I get back to the question was where to publish. If you have a data, there are several forums. We can do the matchmaking for you. For that, we can case by case, we can suggest you. But there are now standard forums where you can actually put, forum means cloud spaces given free of cost or with a very minimal rent.
Yeah, right.
You can
Right.
retain your IP, you can transfer your IP to the curator. But yes, so there are several such spaces. So what is meant by data? Suppose you have a hand camera or your mobile camera, you start picking all the pictures you are seeing in your city walls before election, after election, during election, or any movement. So you have, say, 100,000 such images. We call it a data. You have archive of a newspaper. You downloaded, curated them, transferred them to a particular encoding format. You annotate them. So that means you are adding value to that. You annotate them to a particular way that is required. And then you want to give it to the community for further research, for further exploration. That is data. So every one of us, every day, we create lots of data. And essentially, we are not, in that sense, publishing, but we are generating. So there are certain forums for AI. You can just Google out. I mean, there are pretty good things for NLP. As we started this discussion with this acronym NLP, for natural language processing or for information retrieval kind of thing, which is essentially a very data hungry field. There are several university repositories for that. Like you can check Penn State repository, where all the Trek data sets are being curated. And not only Trek data, many other agencies also share their data with them. So Penn State has a huge repository of such data. Some are priced, some are free, and there are different pricing models, and so on. So there can be university repositories, there can be government repositories, there can be private repositories of data.
Right.
And so are the codes. If you remember, the early days NLP post-tagger kind of things were available in a website called nlp.stanford.edu, which I used to extensively refer in my class. So you just name any model, you get a post-tagger, you get a chunker, you get a parser. So they are all Stanford publications because they all have some kind of DOI. So those kind of repositories, university level, government level, or private initiatives are there where you can publish the stuffs.
Right. So, we do have. I'm going to give you some of those, platforms where you can actually publish your data. And the data would also include, as Prasenjit pointed out, that it would also include your results also, like, all the different results that you are getting, especially in experimental sciences or social sciences. So whatever fields, observations and field study, even intermediate results, you can actually get a DOI. So that's like a URL, a unique link, and that would help you to also choose a particular kind of copyright license. So you can actually put a copyright license saying that this is you can claim that as your data set, right, as your lab's data set or whatever that is. So there are multiple different places. One is Zenodo, then you have the what we call as the dataverse.org. It's kind of a Harvard project where the university repositories, as what Prasenjit was saying. So what this project is about, they are kind of bringing together all the different university projects, university repositories, where data is getting put and trying to put them into one single platform. So that's called Dataverse project. And then you have the Google Dataset search. I don't know how many people know about that, but there is something called Google Dataset search. So you can actually search for data, and you can also publish data over there in
And
Google
many of
dataset
those
search.
Drupal datasets are free.
Thing called Figshare. This is one of
Yeah.
the oldest platforms where you can actually publish your data, and uh, basically you can you can put your and you can also search for it. It's not just about putting the data set, but you can also search for data set from there. And then there is something called the so there's a open data set platform, OSF. That's what they call themselves. So it's the Open Science Framework, and they have their own repository
You have
where you can
Kaggle, you
have.
have GitHub, you can Kaggle. Kaggle datasets are very
Yeah,
popular.
very popular. You can put your data sets on the over there also for machine learning, specifically for people who are into data science and machine learning, or in any kind of data where you would be needing any kind of problem or research problem where you would be needing some sort of a data science analytics or machine learning analytics. And then there is Microsoft Research Open Data, very
Yeah.
similar to Google Open Data, and you can put your data sets over there. And then you have the AWS, the Amazon data sets. So you have Amazon has their own data sets, and then finally, I wouldn't say finally, but I would just say that there is something called the Elsevier data set searching. So Elsevier has their own data set. So I'm going to give you all the different links right now, and where you can, later on you can go and you can then check them out. So this is Zenodo. Let me just give all of it one by one by one. So you can check, just bookmark them, and you can check them out later on. So this is so to say with Prasenjit, I think the point, the copyright license that you talked about, that is one way to figure out, because many people are very apprehensive about this thing, that hey, should I be sharing it, and what should be the right time to share it? Am I really is this the right time, or what if somebody steals my idea or steals my data and do something with that? So any comment on that part, like?
Well, I mean, see, I mean, there is nothing to worry about it. I mean, no one is going to steal your credit if you follow certain basic things while sharing. So, the good practice is, I mean, there are several ways. I'm just suggesting one good practice if you're really concerned about that. So you put your data in whatever right repository you think based on some suggestions that we are giving now, or we can further explore some. But at the same time, you should write a small piece of text and you can publish that. Publish that means you need not to write a journal paper on that. But you can certainly write an archive paper on it. There are several archives which refers to these papers. This will give you, two count success. So one is you are sharing data, and second thing is ideally one who will be using your data will be citing your paper. So you will pick up
Right.
some quick
Many people don't
citations.
understand that.
So you see in this world where citation turn out to be one of the very important parameter of judging whether this is a good journal or bad journal, this good venue or bad venue. But citation at the same time is good because that will give you kind of publicity that, well, hey, look, there is one data on this. So if
Right.
you have a data, if you have a piece of code, GitHub is there or something similar like GitHub, you can always
Yeah,
publish it.
I was about to come to the code aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, you should write a note. It can be a 1-page note, 2-page note. It can be a little extended version of that, 4-page. If not that you tested some experiment, you tried something using those data or code. If you do that, then you can write a full-fledged paper. That is always fine. But even if before that, you can actually put your notion or your mark in the community that, hey, look, this is the data which I create, and this is the piece of paper or text that is describing that data. and that will keep collecting citation. And then you just, if you wish, you can work more on the data and you can publish results, scientific results. But yes, Sourish was mentioning
Right.
this GitHub thing, which is a very interesting and important thing, I feel so. Sourish.
Hmm.
But
And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so
So
there is
what
GitHub and there is Bitbucket. So there is all these
Bitbucket, yeah, yeah,
platforms where these are real code repositories, and it's not just for computer scientists, but any kind of, these days, you need a certain amount of coding and analysis,
yes, yes,
you
yes.
know, almost in every discipline which is dealing
For
with data. And
economics,
these
you
days,
need.
it's very hard to find out a discipline which doesn't deal with data.
True, absolutely, absolutely. So for economics, for sociology, so there are now new topics that are very much in our doorstep, like digital humanities, social science, and so on. So everything is very much
Right.
dependent on this kind of analysis of data and code.
Right. And please don't forget about the opportunity of getting a lot of citation and visibility, right? So this is extremely important. And since it is copyrighted, you don't have to worry about, because you are putting the copyright. So essentially, it's actually good in a way that you are letting it out before anybody else actually lets it out. Because you can claim that that's your data set, that's what you have annotated, or that's what you have produced,
So
right?
exactly, if I just refer my earlier example, suppose you have a mobile device camera and you actually collected say 1,000 images of a particular type, and you think this is very interesting for any kind of social study or for any kind of image processing study or whatever it is. I mean, you don't know where this data will actually be used. I mean, there can be many innovative and imaginative way by the researchers to when they search actually data. And if you write a piece of paper on that look, I have collected this many pictures and this is the time period of this particular city. So it's kind of a cultural ethnography you are collecting, I mean, a thing. And
Mm-hmm.
if you put that paper and that collection of pictures that you have taken, that is considered as a contribution, and it has an IP, and that's considered as a very good contribution. In fact, that is a publication.
Right, right. So this is something that the second point that we were about to discuss, which is the intellectual property, and when it is not. There is nothing. I don't. My personal opinion is that whenever you have something like substantial data platform, not noisy data, which is not going to help anybody, because if it is not going to help anybody, then nobody is going to cite you. You're just letting it out for the sake of it. Don't do that. But if it is substantial, if it has substantial value, even as an intermediate result, then put it out there. Because don't think that it's too early. And I don't also, sometimes I feel like if you don't do that, then it becomes too late. Because it's not that you are the only person who is working on that particular research question or research problem, and there are multiple other people who would be doing that, and they might get to a very similar, even richer data set, and they might also just put it up out there, and you lose the opportunity of being the first mover. So that's my opinion. Yeah.
Mhm.
So now we have covered kind of like what is publication,
Yeah,
and
which are not usually considered at publication, or at
right.
least mainstream publication. We
Yeah.
covered that, but I think we are yet to cover the actual what human perception or the academic perception of publication is. We are yet to cover that.
Right. 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 And by the way, I missed out on on one another aspect of publication, which is blogs, writing blogs, and writing, and publishing your own video. Maybe that is a tutorial,
Oh
or any
yes,
kind of
yes.
other kind of like, let's say, a seminar video, which you find, yeah. Let's say you are giving a talk and you find that that's kind of quite substantial in terms of content and in terms of certain kind of intellectual property. So there are multiple different platforms where you can put your blog out there, like Medium is a very popular platform where you can put your blog, or for video and for presentations. There is slide share for presentation where you can actually put out there for videos. You can of course use YouTube, and create a YouTube channel and you can put it on YouTube. Or for more academic purposes, you can use videolectures.net. So that's a place. I'm going to put it on the chat. So that's a place where you will get to see all the top-notch tier 1 and tier 2 conference talks, webinars, seminars, and all those sort of things. And so yeah, so now coming to the second part, sort of, so to say, which is essentially the paper publication venue and how to decide what is the prestige, what do we essentially mean by prestige. And this is where, we are going to touch a little bit upon, something which might seem to be a little bit controversial, but I really wanted to discuss this with Prasenjit tonight. That when it comes to the usual conventional way of looking into paper publication and is kind of pretty much stereotypical, and people look into the impact factor. That's the very first thing that come up in their mind. Whenever I publish something, people will ask you, if you publish something, people will ask you, what's the impact factor of the journal? And Prasenjit, we have been discussing on this thing for almost ages, essentially. So yeah, so can you, let's have this conversation, kind of like unroll it and look back at everything and try to reassess things, because that's something that I really wanted to do for a long time.
Okay, I mean, let me paint a picture. I mean, before getting into, or rather getting into how to calculate prestige. I mean, there are several formulas of calculating prestige, and there is no one good formula to calculate prestige. I mean, you can say that, I mean, this is like there is no one good vaccine for COVID that which is coming up in recent past, what I understand. But anyway, I mean, let me paint the picture of the entire ecosystem of publication, which can help to put this discussion into more perspective. Right. So who are the entities, if you see? So the first entity, a paper or a write-up, is originated by the author. So the author is the first entity into the system. If there is no author, there will be no publication. Simple.
Right.
Okay. So then once you author something, then it goes to a venue. Let it be a journal. Let's call the journal X. So you write a paper, it goes to the journal X. Now what happened? I mean, what happens behind the scene? That you upload your paper. So on the other side of the table, there is a group of editor. A few people whose task is to assess the quality of the paper, and if they feel that this paper has good potential in several counts. One could be, I mean, contribution to the body of knowledge. One could be something very hot and heat. So there can be several aspects. I am not getting into that, but that there are certain compulsions as well, which is essentially there in entire publication or media, if you see. So based on, but mostly academic publication, it is assumed that mostly if there is a good potential that this piece of writing is showing some promise, and with little supervision, we can get a better draft out of this particular author, then they choose to put that paper into process. Now, putting that paper into process means they will ask you to revise on certain aspect. The other way is they can just reject it. So it ends there. But if they choose not to reject it, and if they see some promise that it will contribute to the body of knowledge, they will ask you to rework on certain concepts, to chisel out certain things so that the sculpture looks more beautiful. So what they do essentially, there are two ways. One is there can be a rigorous revision, which we usually term as major revision, where about 25 to 30% of the total work that you have submitted, you have to redo. And if it is more than 25 to 30%, then it's a very tricky situation. I mean, if for the editors to decide that, you say suppose the paper shows promise, but you have to actually rework say 50% of it. So these are certain special cases. I'm not getting into that. But if they see that, well, things are almost ready, only some touch here and there will make the film ready, they give you a minor revision. So there are different degree of revisions.
Right.
So what they decide. Now you see, you get two entities, you the authors, the editors. Now what happened, there are two more entities in the system. So the one is how the editors come to the conclusion that this paper is showing a promise. You see, typically a standard journal of any publisher, say Elsevier or Springer, SCM, IEEE for that matter, the major publisher, how Macmillan and whatnot, Cambridge University Press, Oxford University. The university presses are very prestigious, I mean, in that sense, to get into if you have some publication there. Now, what happened? The number of submissions, if you see per year, typically is in the order of 1,000. So it can be 1,000 or something around that, so 2,000, 2,500, or even more. It depends on that prestige factor, what Sourish was telling. I mean, what calculation you are using doesn't matter, but in some calculation, you are getting a prestige value. So what happened for these 4 or 5 people sitting behind the journal? It's impossible for them to read those papers, and also for several reasons. One is time. There is a big time constraint, as you understand. And the other thing is that they may not be expert of everything. So they need expert opinion or comments on those papers. So what happened? They invite reviews. Now you see the third entity gets into the system. So we have a set of reviewers who are essentially scholars or scholarly people, researchers, who actually have some publications already in their credit in that area. So they are invited to give their comments on this paper on behalf of the editor. More than one, typically 3 such comments are collected. And once such comments are collected, then the editors actually sit, read those comments and those papers, ideally, and come to a conclusion how this paper should be treated further. So we have 4 editors or 5 editors, and we have 400 reviewers now. So one author, 4 editors, 400 reviewers. And then these 3 entities actually work out the whole draft. There will be iteration between the author and the editors via the review comments. The review comments are attached with the paper. Right. And eventually, after 1 or 2 iteration, if it came up, I mean, if the paper seems now it's publishable, they decide a slot. That means which volume, which issue, kind of thing, and then they publish it. So this is the general process. Now you see, publication requires a venue. I mean, before the advent of the digital media, it was only printed papers. So it was something like a book. So you need a printer and a publisher to print it and publish it. That means sending it to every bookstall, to every library, and to get the paper from the raw market, to buy the printing machine, offset machine, and whatnot. Right. So they used to invest a lot in this.
Right, a lot of money would go in.
So a lot of money they used to invest in making a publication house. So the publication house used to publish these scholarly materials, and then there there are two revenue models in place, because now you see the business line started because someone invested in that, in those publication business. So what happened? So if you invest something, you will expect some return out of it. So there are two ways to get the return. One way is, one who will read the paper will pay. Like the way you buy a book from the market, you pay and you buy the book. So the payment goes directly to the publisher.
Right.
And a part of it goes to the author in the name of royalty. The big publishing house, they also have staffs, and review also get paid, the reviewers, because reviewers are eventually a very scholarly people, and they are spending some of their busy schedule, their time to commenting and making the draft better. So that was also treated as a contribution, or in terms of economics, this was treated as labor. So the reviewers who are putting their labor, the author who is putting their labor, the editors who are putting their labor, and the publishers. The four people, since the publisher invested here. So this is the general business model, which was followed for a long time and which is still in existence. Now, parallelly, there is another line. What happened? This is a very interesting development. You can buy a book in this model only if you have money in your pocket. So what happened? If you have money in your pocket, you will buy that book. Say a book cost 8,000 rupees.
Right.
You read that book, then you do your research, you write a research paper, you cite that book. And your book started getting a citation. So your account opened in the area of citation. So you started getting famous as your book started getting cited several times. But just note one thing, the book is either you have to buy, the author started getting famous as the book started getting cited. But the point here is, only if you have money in your pocket, that means that is a restricted set of people in any economics. So there are libraries where you can lend books and so on, such systems, so that people who even don't have that amount of money to buy a book of 8,000 rupees, they can go and refer it in the library. Now, library has its own ecosystem and investment. I'm not getting into that. Now, what happened? The argument started coming that how is it that if citation is equally important and pricey, then those who are picking up citations, can't we ask them to pay also? Because they are getting citations anyway, and citations are making them rich. You just see the cycle. So what happened? The second model is, if I am the author, I will write the paper, at the same time I will pay to publish it.
Right.
So here the publisher is not spending much, but one thing I am ensuring, that whoever will download this paper can download it free.
Right. So the reading is free.
So the reading is free. So that means what I'm ensuring, that more people can read. That means more people can cite, so that your probability of citation increases. So you can become quickly known in the community. And this is a very well established system. If you see in the biological science areas and many such places, the authors are supposed to pay. So there is a different economy behind that, how the authors bring that money for payment, because it's a hefty amount. I mean, it's even in the order of $1,500 to $3,000. There are certain places like PLOS and many other places.
Right.
Now, there is also some issues, I mean, in publication. I mean, they're equally controversial. Like now what happened, that if I want to publish, now thing stands that if I have money, I can publish. So whatever I want, I can publish. So I can manipulate many things. I can manipulate the narration also. The social narration, the medical narration, the political narration, whatever it is, I can publish. But I have money, I can publish. So that is another cycle. So you see in both the cases, either the author pay or the reader pay. Okay, but the common gainer in this whole process is the publisher, whether the author pay it or the reader pay it. So keeping that in mind, a third trail is coming up very, very fast. If you see, the discussions were started here and there. You must have noticed, if you are a member of IEEE or Acm or any society kind of thing who publishes
society publishers, yeah.
Society publishers, and then the actual companies who invest a huge amount of money to maintain a network, to maintain the printing thing. Well, printing is no more physical. Mostly the printing thing got shifted, and now there are books and there are machines which can actually produce books in a very short notice. So on-demand publication, on-demand hard copy publication is now the model for any companies, right from Springer to the biggest inside book bazaar in our country, College Street, Kolkata. They also have similar machines. So not all the novelists are these days are getting all 500 or 5,000 copies of their latest novel printed. It depends on how much order you are procuring, they will generate kind of on-demand generation. But back to the third trail. The third trail is, how can we make the third entity, which was there in this system, like the publishers, make them pay to one who are actually working in it. So in academic publication, if you see, the reviews are very important. A very important component of any good academic publication is the review. So how to remunerate the reviewers is something very important to think about, because if you don't get a good review, you can probably pass out a garbage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that will not contribute, or rather negatively contribute, to the body of knowledge. And since we consider people who are reviewing already have similar papers in their credit or working in this area for substantial time, we call it peer review. So they are kind of your peers. So how to generate these, how to basically join the dots of these entities in a way so that all the parties can have their share, can have their kind of remuneration or compensation of the contribution they are making. I think Sourish also have something to. I see Sourish having a raised eyebrow and getting his lips open, but I was not letting him to speak out here. But please, Sourish, yes, yeah. You, please put your.
No, I was trying to bring you towards a particular specific direction, which is even more controversial. Which is, now, people have their primary ways of looking into like okay, so this is kind of the general ecosystem that you described, and the stakeholders, and how the incentive structures of each stakeholders are, and what is the interplay and the interdependency, and how the entire economy works, because there's a whole lot of economy that is associated with it, which many researchers but they have to understand in order to go to the next level, which is selection. Now, there are so many, and I would want to start this conversation with you with a particular survey that we got. So far, whatever we got is, there was this question that I looked up, which was that, how do you choose where to publish, right? And am I audible? Because my internet connection is a little bit unstable tonight. Hello?
Yeah, you're audible.
So this question, okay, so fine. So we asked this question: how do you choose where to publish? So there was one follow my advisor's suggestion. So that came out to be the largest so far, and that's like 52.9%.
Okay.
where I assume that most people, because most people who come and join our live sessions, they are essentially primarily PhD students, and most people who will be watching them later on after we are done with the session would be mostly research students. So most people said that they actually follow my advisor's suggestion. That is that got highest vote, like 52.9, which is 53%. Then came by topic, theme, track of journal or the conference proceeding. That's like 41%. Then by response time of review, that's 41%. By the way, people had multiple choices, so it was you can tick multiple different things. So that's how it has been done. So by response time of the review, which means how long does it take for the review to come back to you,
Okay,
and
that's
that was
interesting.
41%. So that's quite interesting. Then
Oh, okay.
was yeah, and then was by impact factor. After that, which is the third criteria, was by impact factor, and or rather the fourth one is impact factor. So the first one, rank one was advisor. Advisor wins. Then in second position you have response time of the review and topic and theme of the track, and then comes impact factor, and then comes other metrics, and they are all equal, like 30% said impact factor and 30% said other metrics. And we will come to the other metrics aspect in tonight's discussion. And then equally ranked was by cost of publication, which you were just discussing, Prasenjit, like the who pays and who actually doesn't pay. So cost of publication, which means free is better, is favored more. Then came by acceptance rate. So that's like 23% said they choose by acceptance rate. Then 23% said they choose by alignment with research questions. Then 23% chose by alignment with their approach. So essentially, they dig deeper into the issues and the tracks and figure out what was published before maybe in the last couple of years or 3-4 years, and then try to figure that out. And then the lowest ranking was okay. So the acceptance rate, I gave two choices. One was where the acceptance rate is higher, which means it's easier to get there, and the second one was where acceptance rate is lower, which is it's difficult to get there published. So which is the lowest? Of course, I mean that would naturally be like, why would so that's kind of like the natural tendency, I guess. That's kind of like 11% said that they actually prefer the more difficult places. So now, bringing all this survey into perspective, which is that, going with the advisor's suggestion. So that
Yeah,
stands
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's just talk a little bit about that part. Like,
Yeah, that is the safest thing, you see. I mean, when someone come to research after masters, or maybe even in masters research after BTech or graduation kind of thing, I mean bachelorate, then masters and post master, I mean this PhD kind of thing. Uh, the entire exposure to this world of publication happens, at least in India and also in Europe, what I have seen personally, happen through the advisor.
right.
So,
No, even
so
in the United States, because my experience was in the United States. Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. So usually what happens when you select your supervisor, you look at the smartest way to look at his publications. If that matches with your area of interest, and if that
Right.
you feel that yes, this is the area which I will be working on. Typically, we all know that, I mean, people refers to Google Scholar or such places. Google Scholar is a new thing. Previously, they used to check DBLP kind of stuff or something,
Right.
some such index sites. And based on the publication of the supervisor, I mean, yeah, publication they choose. So once they select the supervisor, is very safe option to depend on her or him or on the supervisor to decide at least for first couple of papers for him till that student get a good grasp of what is going on in the community.
Right.
So that explains 53% turnout of that. Yeah, I understand that. And you said that there was a second point which was considering
39% said by response time of the review, and then another 39% said by topic or theme of the track or the issue.
Okay, so this is something surprising to me, that uh, I mean, to know the response time of a journal on an average is a very new thing. I mean, these days journals usually uh, put a timestamp on all the published paper. They're submitted on this date,
Right.
first revision on that date, second revision on that date, or published on that date. So you can easily count that whether it's taking 8 months or 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of the metrics these days, if not in isolation, but implicitly count these also as a parameter.
Right.
And but there is a flip side of it. The flip side is, while serving an editorial board of an ACM transaction, I personally understand that getting good reviews in a decent time is getting incrementally difficult.
Hmm.
Incrementally difficult, because in the last in the last point, I was mentioning that reviewers should be remunerated. One point is this also, that there are many reviews. There are many systems now available called open review kind of thing. Many conferences are thinking to switch on to that setup, including many top conferences. The quality of reviews are very inconsistent, what I can say. So suppose typically 3 reviews if you get, uh, one review can be very scholarly and one review can be absolutely trash. So where I understand that we need to train the reviewers as well. Now,
Right.
reviewers, as I said, plays a very important role in the whole ecosystem. Now, if you keep getting trash review, and if you pass it on to the author, and if you just run the show like that, you can actually publish, you can actually accept a paper in a week, in a week's time. So I don't know. I mean, any
Yeah.
parameter you pick
Yeah.
has so much flaws in it that even if you compute another kind of metric with squashing all the parameters, I mean, I'm not very sure, I'm not very convinced that, I mean, how a prestige factor will actually help you to ensure that you are actually contributing to the body of knowledge, which is
But
essentially
I'm
the
going to
main. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, sorry,
So
yeah,
I'm going to put myself for a
please.
moment, but before
Yes.
that, as the devil's advocate. But before that, I'm going to take a few questions, starting from Shamitadi. Her question is: if I have some gene sequence accessions that have been included in my published paper, will the gene sequence uploaded in a database be considered separately as a publication? So,
No.
what's your take or your opinion
So
on?
so uh, so the question is, the gene sequence, it was sequenced by the author?
Yeah,
Absolutely, it is.
yeah.
It is a data. In fact, it's a very valuable data.
And it gets a separate DOI, and that's
Of
treated. But
course,
but of course, it's a different category of publication, definitely. But it is a publication.
it is a publication. It has an IP.
Yeah,
It has an IP,
it
intellectual.
has an intellectual property.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So it would be considered as public. And these days, this entire open science framework movement is happening. So people
Yeah.
are encouraging a lot, and I am seeing all the top universities doing that, and like this was actually started out by, first started out by Figshare, but officially started out by Harvard. Harvard University
Yeah,
has their
yeah.
own dataverse. And Harvard University is trying to bring all the other universities where all these university repositories are there where people are putting up data so that the data is more and more publicly available. So definitely a lot of visibility you can get immediately if you are actually not just publishing it on the data, but you should also be promoting it. The more you promote the data,
we should actually promote and encourage the research community to write more blogs kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's something like, this is called parallel cinema, this is called art film, this is called commercial film.
Right.
It's not like that. I mean, blogs, I just tell you, blogs and archives are now basically serving the science community. I tell you why. The most seminal paper of machine learning and natural language processing, the name of the paper is something like attention is all what you need, I think, if I'm not wrong, Sourish, you can tell.
Exactly that is what
which picked up some 17,000, I repeat, public citation in last 3 years, which is a mammoth citation. You just can't imagine. 3 years, 2017, it got published. And do you know where it was published? It was non-peer reviewed archive publication.
Right.
So peer reviewed was absolutely bypassed. Yes, another important thing. Archives are typically non-peer reviewed. So whatever you are writing there is your responsibility.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So, and that is true even for the data kind of archives. That is true even for the code kind of archives.
And if you see the readership of that paper, or readership of codes, or readership of explaining those papers in different blogs, because that paper is a very difficult one to understand for many who don't have a very solid mathematical background. But if you want to understand what is a transformer or what it is, there are several blogs in the what Sourish mentioned in Medium. Thing. So they have a very high readership, huge readership they do have. And where you have readership is where you are publishing. You should publish.
And there's another aspect to it, Prasenjit, that you actually get a visibility as an early stage researcher very quickly, that the community gets to know you as a researcher.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And it opens up a lot of opportunity at a career level also for an early, like a research student and so on. Because people start noticing you.
Yes. In fact, we are now struggling to put this as a clause in the, there are several systems by the government set it up that to understand this prestige, that if a blog gets citation, that means a blog has been clicked beyond a particular number of times, it should be considered as a very important contribution.
Right, absolutely.
So it should be treated. It should be treated equally that with a paper. Well, I mean that we can always normalize how it is, and that is very difficult also. I mean, if you say, if you say how to normalize a paper that got published in Stocks or kind of thing, or something that is published in the Jhumrutalaya Conference of Computer Science and all assorted things under the sun. So there are several such conferences. But yes, I mean, if you have readership in your blog, and if you can prove that, and that should be considered as a very important publication.
Right. Now, coming to that one point, now I'm going to come to the other questions also, or maybe I should just take one more question, and then I will be the devil's advocate over here. So, one more question from Vidya is, how can one get more information on data science? If the question was more about how can one get data sets on data science, then I have sent you a lot of shared a lot of links, and there is something called Kaggle also if you are more into data science, specifically into data science and machine learning, so you can get a lot of data sets from there. So let's see which okay, there is a question from Chandan. Sir, is there any key terms which must be followed by the researchers before publishing any paper? So Prasenjit, would you like to take that question?
Key term means?
Key terms like keywords that one must, like, is for the ACO purpose of when you are trying to publish a paper, so that your paper get visibility, or what kind of terms you should be using in your title or abstract or whatever that is.
Okay. No, Chandan, This was a question from Chandan, right? This
Yeah,
question.
Chandan. Yeah.
Chandan, I mean, search engine optimization and research publication, these are two different things. Uh, Search engine optimization require this kind of, I mean, selection of key terms or something like that, which is absolutely, I mean, irrelevant in case of publication. When you publish, and rather why you publish, I mean, you have an urge of expressing your knowledge. You have an urge that you find something new and you can put it or you can speak it out in a different way. You can put it in a different way, which people never done it before. So novelty, your urge and the quality, the content. So if these are the major criteria of publishing, then I think you need not to get into a set piece mindset. You just feel free to write the title or to write the abstract or to write the introduction. You see, the most cited seminal paper in the community, in our community, in last 3 years, the title is "Attention is all what you need." So it can be a line of Shakespeare. I mean, does it sound that this is a technical paper?
Yeah, I mean, so you see that how could, if you're looking into it from an SEO point of view, this is the worst title that one would ever want to put out,
Yep.
right? Because it tells us nothing actually at an SEO level. Like, when one would want to search on Google, let's say, for by putting some keywords and trying to fetch the paper, one wouldn't get anything out of that title, right?
Yep.
But of course, there are other kind of things. I'm not. My personal opinion is, of course, when you will be putting the category and the keyword when you are actually trying to submit your manuscript, the journal or the conference proceeding will want you to put some category. Don't over there. It is very important that you do the right thing over there. Like, you actually make sure that you are putting those keywords that actually relate to the research objective or the research goal that you are trying to solve, and the method that you are, or the technique that you are trying to use. It should not be just anything and everything just for the sake of SEO, that you just want to get yeah.
Every publication house also has something, if you really want to. Like, for example, there is Acm Classification Codes.
Right.
There are something
Right.
for IEEE also, or for other things. So whether it's a
Right.
literature paper, under literature, if it is Black American history, or in the medieval history. So
Right.
I mean, you can pick it from that. So that's a kind of an ontology kind of thing, from where you can
Right.
see
Right.
where it
Right.
your theme matches the most, and you pick it up
And you
accordingly.
pick it up, and so that's like the publisher's keywords, and then you have the author's keyword, and over there also what I was telling you, that just make sure that you stick to the point. Don't try to do anything smart over there, just because you want to grab more attention, because people will not be, ultimately it's not about how many people bounces on your paper, it's about how many people cites it.
Yes, and
So
let me tell you, the end of the day, your paper will be searched through a search engine.
yeah.
Unfortunately, not through those classification index. Those library classification index were very important in the pre-search engine era. Now, search engine will put up their own way of indexing and classification of the paper, whatever you
Right.
write it there.
Right, right. And at the end of the day, that's one of the reasons why I tell you that if you really feel that you have something substantial, write a easy blog or put it on
Yes,
Arxiv.
yes.
And because there is another myth, I guess, Prasenjit, that this is one thing, one of the conclusive topic, for tonight. A lot of people think that if I put something on Arxiv, because I'm telling you, the stat that we got for Arxiv is that 38.9% people do not have much idea about preprints, what preprints are, and
Okay.
only 16% people said that yes, they actually put it on Arxiv, and 44% people, they know about archives, but they don't put preprints on archives. And I guess one of the reason, which according to my experience, was that they have this fear, again, that fear that what happens to my IP if I put things on archive. Why should I be putting things on archive, or why should I be writing a blog before having it accepted?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that again comes back, we come back to the same discussion that we were having for data and code. Isn't that so? What do you think? Yeah.
Um, okay, I mean, I'm just getting into that. I see a very interesting question here, if you may allow. The question, you can see that ISSN or ISBN kind of tags, if a journal doesn't come with such, or a publication doesn't come with such, I mean, should we consider to publish there? The answer is no. And
Right, absolutely.
the suggestion is write a blog instead.
Right, right,
That will be
right.
yours.
Yeah. So the blog thing, essentially, the people feel like, hey, I'm letting out my idea, but they don't understand. You guys need to understand that anything that you let out on the internet, automatically you get a copyright of it, and that's
Yes.
one of the reason why. Because if you don't let it out quick enough, somebody else is going to let it out. So why people are going more and more for preprint archives is just because of this thing, that because they don't know when somebody else is going to come up with a very similar idea and publish it. So it's a lot better actually that you put it up on these preprint archives and you get a license, and that becomes yours. And then you can always, this is a myth, Prasenjit, that I have seen, that a lot of people think that after that they cannot submit it somewhere else.
No, it is not
So
so. It's not so.
yeah. So preprints, you can always modify that or polish it up, and then even if you can say actually submit it as it is,
Yep.
in somewhere else, some other journal or conference proceeding, right? And that can become a publication, and you can have a preprint copy also at the
Yeah.
same time.
Only thing is, when you publish the exact thing, you have to mention that it has been earlier published in this blog.
Right. Right.
And there is another direction called plagiarism, which might be discussed, I mean, in a separate meeting, that what is called plagiarism, or what percentage or kind of thing. But yes, as of now, let's not get into that.
Right, right. See, the final. I will take a final one or two more questions, and so one question is coming from Rama Patnaik, and she is asking this question, like how to identify what trends in research of a particular topic, given there are a number of sources are not available in open access. So
one good place is you subscribe to Rax.
Yeah. Apart from that, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do, Prasenjit, in your field? Let's make it more field specific.
Okay.
Yeah. So what usually do you suggest to your students?
Okay. So the thing is that I do not know any comprehensive platform where I will fire a query that trains research trained in natural language processing, and it will return me 6 bullets. I do not know any such thing. So what I do, and usually my community people does, I mean, how they work, they visit different top conference, they interact with people, make a habit of reading good papers. Now you know which are good paper and which are bad paper. So maybe in your early day of research, your supervisor will make you a reading list. It help to make a reading list. Like I got a reading list from my supervisor when I started my research, and so to Sourish. So something like that. And from there, you will learn. This is something which you can acquire. So this is an acquired learning thing in your journey of research, to understand that what is potential and what is currently on. So you can invest accordingly your time.
Right, right. And I want to give you something. There is something that I know which actually kind of does a little bit of the visualization in terms of trends and all. And let me just put it on chat. So this is something called Schemago SGR, and they have something called Viz Tools. You can explore that.
Yeah, so that's more or less kind of a word cloud that they will throw at you. So the word clouds are typically entities which they collected, and based on their frequency, they decide the size. So the largest size word you see in front of you can give you a name maybe, but I mean,
Right,
still
right.
you don't expect that you get the research question out of it.
No. It's just at a topical level.
Yes, but the
And
main thing
similar,
for research is to frame your research question. What is the most burning research question now, or what
right,
is going to be the next research question? So once people solve to represent text in hot vector way, then the next research question was how to reduce that. And
right,
then they
right.
came up with something, an embedded representation. And now what is the next research question? How to capture more semantics into it. So these line of action, this how to understand research question, how they're evolving, really there does not exist any single tool. But yes, at topical level, you can see a dashboard with different size topics or entities,
Hmm.
and it's there. I mean, you have to build the entire system from there.
I just want to add a little bit over here that, one, just to add on to the way you do it, essentially is just go to the last 3 years issue of a journal, or the last 3 years proceedings of a conference, and then look at all the different titles of the papers that has been accepted over there, and go to good ones, go to the prominent ones in that area, and then you can list down all the different topics that are getting more and more attention, research questions that are getting more and more attention, and also probably you might also look into the approaches that are getting more and more attention.
Uh,
But
in
right
fact,
now,
Mhm. In fact,
yeah,
the journal websites, say the Springer or Elsevier kind of, they started this kind of service that what are the most downloaded papers in last few years or last few months, last few weeks kind of thing. So that's kind of a proxy of trending. So if something is getting downloaded more than before, that's kind of a proxy of trending. What trend
right.
is getting set in the community? That also you can check and follow.
Right. So that would, I kind of like, we are almost at we kind of like passed. I mean, this was a lovely conversation, and we have actually passed the time that we usually do, because there were so many interesting things to. Hi, Hardik. There's so many interesting things to actually talk about, and I'm pretty sure we are kind of, there's so much more to talk about. It can actually be a series two, or an episode two rather, of a series. So we will definitely try to bring some of those topics which we could not cover today due to lack of time, right, Prasenjit? And we will try to look into maybe some specific one or two topics, and maybe move more into the details of how one can actually do certain things. Because while during this conversation, I had a lot more number of questions which I thought, which I didn't think about, and now I'm having those questions with me. So I guess that we will leave that for the next round. And
Yep.
I hope that I will be able to convince you to come back again on our show. So with that, I would like to wrap it up for tonight. And if you have any parting questions or comments, just let us know. Otherwise, it's getting late, I guess, for many people. I don't know about the time zones that you are in right now, but thanks a lot, Prasenjit, for giving us the time.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, for I guess a lot of people will be watching it after the sessions, and I guess many people will find this to be very helpful. Okay, all right. So any questions, by the way, that you have for Prasenjit or for me? If you have questions for Prasenjit, just send an email to me. I'll type my email address, and I will forward that to Prasenjit and get the answer and get back to you. Right. So okay, so good night and
Good
stay
night.
extremely safe. All of you, take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and see you on Wednesday. Right? Okay, thank you. Bye bye.